Okay, Des, the 215 summer is a dim and distant memory now. You've had a very successful summer on the Severn. Do you want to give us a rundown of how you fared?
Yeah, it was the most successful year I've had guiding. It really has, with nigh to 400 barbel caught through the summer. But it was a consistent summer. You know, it was low water most of the year, and I adapted to the conditions. I think a lot of people who struggled went on the feeder, and I used straight lead. Instead of constantly feeding with a feeder, all I was doing was putting in pellets, making balls, making ground bait. I know you do it yourself, Max, and that's what I did. And I constantly fed. I fed for about half an hour to an hour before I started fishing. I got the fish in the swim, I got them confident, and that's how I caught the fish. And a thing I did do, and a lot of anglers don't do, is when I'm getting liners, Max, to me, if you get a liner, a bang, and you don't get a take, you frighten the fish. If you get another liner, you frighten another fish. If you get another liner, if you keep going on like that, on a good day you might get some fish. On a bad day you spook the lot. So what I tend to do is, if I get a few liners and I don't get a take, I take my rods out and I feed even more to get them confident. Because if you get a liner, that's a fish in the peg, you should get a take. If you don't get a take, something's the matter. So,
how long do you leave your rods out for?
Quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, just feed it. Because the longer the rod's out, the better. Because all the fish in the swim, all the chub, all the roach, everything are just giving the barbel, the biggest in the pecking order, the confidence. He's just sitting back, watching all this activity go on, and it's just like me with pork pies, mate. If there's somebody got the pork pies, I'm going to have the pork pies, not the small bloke. Yeah. And that's the same with barbel. He'll watch for a certain time, but eventually it'll commit itself to feed, and that's what it does do. And that's what I did. I constantly fed all the time. I repaired the swim. Even when I had fish, what I did, instead of having like one fish after a quarter of an hour, another fish after 20 minutes, another fish after an hour, another, if that's going like that, it's going away from you. So what you need to do is say, right, it was half an hour, now it's an hour and a half. Don't go so it's 3 hours and 4 hours, because you ain't going to have another take. So if you bring your rods in again and feed again, and feed and feed and feed and bring those fish back up, bring those fish back into the swim, get them more confident. That's how I was having the catches, and that's how I was having, you know, an average of 10 fish a trip, sometimes 12. Right at the death we had, I think right at the death, a chap called Keith Harding up at Coalport on your waters. He had 19 barbel and one chub. Down at Bewdley we had 21 barbel. Two chaps from Liverpool had 21 barbel. It's a method that really works in clear water. That's, forget the feeder, straight lead, feeding balls of pellet.
Basically anywhere on the Severn.
Anywhere on the Severn. That produces anywhere on the Severn. Obviously down towards the bottom end it gets deeper, then it's very difficult to know where the feed is going. Yeah. But the rod will tell you where it is. Yeah. You know, when you put your bait in, you know, when you start getting little bangs and knocks from fish, it'll tell you if the bait's in the right area.
Yeah. So to sum up, you've had a cracking summer.
And the best summer guiding, certainly for years, you know, sort of, as I say, we've had 370, 400, I don't know, barbel, and we've had 4 doubles, you know, and that's the middle Severn. Then these are people that have, majority of my customers either have caught very, very few barbel or haven't caught barbel at all. They're children, they're women, they're blokes that fish still waters, want to catch a barbel. So we're not talking about experts, we're talking about people that really fish for barbel. We've put them on the right stretches, we've put them on the right methods, and they've caught a lot of fish. So, you know, the rubbish I hear about the Severn being on the way back or on the way backwards and not producing is rubbish to me. It really has produced fantastic.
Right, thanks for that. We're in December now, and this is the time of year when the river's carrying extra water for much of the time. Could you give us a couple of tips on how to catch us a few fish?
Well, the knack in any winter fishing is to keep your eye on conditions. You know, it can be the most difficult times of the year, or it can be the easiest times. If you keep your eyes on temperature, if you keep your eyes on the colour, people say, well, how do I do that? Well, the facilities now are unbelievable on the internet, on phones, your shop. You know, the chap that puts the effort in will get more out of it. And what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for a river that's been up, great. If it's been 10 foot, 12 foot up, magic. I ain't going to fish then, but I'm waiting for it to come down. I'm waiting for it to be probably 3 foot, 2 foot, a little bit of colour in the water. And if it's warm water, you're going to catch fish. You're going to catch chub, you're going to catch barbel, you're going to catch roach. You know, all these species will be in that window of feeding. It's been cold, it's been up, they've not been feeding, they're just trying to survive. Suddenly comes down to this window where they just want to eat, and that's what they've got to do in the eat. And if you're there on the bank when that is, then that's great. If you can only go Saturday or you can only go Sunday, then it's obviously going to be more difficult than I can go any time. But you know, still you've got to make the most of that. If Saturday's looking a better day than Sunday, well, don't take the missus shopping, go on the Saturday. You know, the chap who puts himself out is going to catch more fish. But what I'm looking for is slightly, you see, if the river is 9 degrees and dropped to 7, that's a bad time, you know, to be fishing. And yet, if it's gone from 5 to 8, that's brilliant. All 5 to 7 again, it's still the same temperature, but it's come up. And that temperature then, you've got a chance to catch him, right? And as the river's coming down, temperature's going up, brilliant. It's very, very hard if we have a consistent winter. It's going to be cold, clear, rivers down. Then what you've got to do is you've got to go towards the match style. You've got to just drop the line strength down a bit, the hook size down a bit, and fish smaller baits. Small piece of flake instead of a big piece of crust, etc.
Yeah, so you taper in your feeding pattern down as well.
Yes, everything down. I'm giving them probably less feed, smaller bait, lighter line, but no compromise. You know, I'm always using gear that I can land the fish with. I ain't using such a small hook, such a light line, that if I didn't hook the fish that I desire, whether it be a 3 pound roach or whether it be a 5 pound chub or whatever, I've got to be in on the chance that I'm definitely going to land it.
That's excellent.